Welcome to Over 50 TV. My name is Reyes. And today what I've got for you is something that's a little bit different than what I've been talking about lately, because lately I've been pretty bullish on the labor market. And it's not to say that I'm not still bullish right now, especially when I just saw the Labor Department reported this past Friday that 372,000 jobs were added. The unemployment rate is still 3.6%, which is unchanged from May, and they say it's near a 50-year low. So yeah, I'm still bullish on the labor market, but there are some signs that things could be changing. So what I thought in this video what I would do is just give you a heads up, tell you about some subtle, what I say are subtle signs that older workers are about to lose their jobs. I'm going to tell you what those signs are. There's actually 7 of them. I'll tell you what they are right after this break. Welcome back to Over 50 TV. My name is Reyes. Well, as I said before the break, in this video, what I want to do is just reveal to you, tell you about 7 subtle signs that older workers are about to lose their job. And as I mentioned in the past, over the last few months, I've been pretty bullish on the labor market, and I'm still bullish on the labor market, but I do think, from what I've seen, I do think things are about to turn, and I want you to watch out for some of the things that I'll be telling you about today, some of the signs. But before we get into that, I want to mention to you that in the description box of this video, I do have what I call my 5-sentence cover letter, a cover letter that hiring managers can't resist. It's free. There's a link in the description box. You can use all or part of this cover letter when you send out your resume. It can accompany your resume. But I also have in the description box, I do have a link to a free career aptitude test, and that test is courtesy of Career Fitter. As you know, if you follow the channel, if you follow me, you know I highly recommend career aptitude tests. I really believe they can help steer you to a career, to a job that better fits your skills, your personality, and of course your experience. I do want to mention that over the last few months, I've become an affiliate of Career Fitter. I'm pretty excited about that opportunity. I've done reviews of career aptitude tests. This happens to be the best one that I found. So for me to be able to let you know about this career aptitude test, to me, I'm just so pleased that I can do it. So now let's get to our video. Let's get to 7 subtle signs that older workers are about to lose their job. The first subtle sign that an older worker is about to lose their job is when they are working in an industry that is in trouble. And when I was doing the research for this video, I read an article in the New York Times. I read some data. And one of the things I found very interesting is what it said here. It says, going into the fall, slowdowns are expected first in businesses most sensitive to interest rates like construction and manufacturing. And again, this is according to an article in the New York Times. So if you are in one of those 2 industries, and certainly there are other industries, but when you see the signs that your industry is being impacted or could be impacted by the economy, by, in this case, interest rates, well, you want to try to insulate yourself as much or as best as possible. And of course, what you also have to understand, and I think most of you do who watch this channel, we have to face ageism. And there's an article or some data, a study that was done that said 56% of older workers are pushed out of their job, pushed out before they're ready to retire, and they're pushed out because of their age. And when you combine these 2 issues, an industry in trouble and then an older worker who already has to deal with ageism, while I think that this is a sign, it's something that you want to watch out for. And as I said, again, you want to try to insulate yourself from this problem as best as possible. Another subtle sign that an older worker or older workers are about to lose their job is when you see the economy slowing down. And this sort of dovetails from number 1 when I said an industry's in trouble. But when we talk about the overall economy being in trouble, what we know is that hiring is suppressed. And I'll give you an example here. It says from an article that I read, and I'm going to quote this person here from Comerica Bank. He says, his name is Bill Adams. He says, employers are getting less anxious to fill those job postings as they watch the economy slow. And again, this is according to Bill Adams, the chief economist at Comerica Bank. He said, I would expect that probably businesses will slow walk filling open positions before they actually pull job postings. So when you see the economy, when you see it slowing down, and I'm going to, again, look back here at what Bill Adams says, and he says that companies are going to slow walk filling an open position. Well, when you slow walk filling an open position, and then you decide you're going to pull that open position, well, the next step is going to be you're going to start looking at layoffs or cutting back. And I think that, as I mentioned, that this does impact older workers more severely than it would impact a younger worker. I already gave you that stat, a 56% of older workers stat. So I think that watching what the economy is doing is important. And I used this word previously, which is to insulate yourself as much as possible. But I do think it's important to plan ahead, to look at the possibilities. And if you see that this could have a negative impact on you, well, certainly you want to watch out for this subtle sign, and what you want to do is plan for it. Hiring freeze. And when you encounter a hiring freeze or you're at your company and what you find is that there is now a hiring freeze, there will be no hiring for whatever period of time, and sometimes there's no deadline on a hiring freeze. Sometimes it just goes on and you just have to kind of wait and see what the company's going to do. But you have to ask yourself, or you should ask yourself, why is there a hiring freeze? Are sales down? Is the economy impacting our business, our locally, nationally, internationally? But when there's a hiring freeze, there's always a reason behind it, and that's pretty obvious to you. But a hiring freeze, to me, does indicate that the company is looking at their costs very, very closely. They're not growing. If you're not growing, you're not moving forward. What they're doing is they're hunkering down. And when this happens, again, I believe that an older worker does have to watch more closely, I would say, more closely than somebody who is a bit younger. And I don't think anyone out there, any of you watching this video, would dispute that. So watch for a hiring freeze. And when you do that, just be aware of what's going on. Try to find out why it's going on. And then, of course, prepare yourself. And again, I'll use that word again. Insulate yourself from any possible problem that you could have. Spending cuts. And this is one, when I put it on this list here, of a subtle sign that an older worker could be about to lose their job. When I put spending cut on here, I put it on here and I thought immediately of a couple things. Two things, actually. Number one is, how deep is that spending cut? If that spending cut is severe, if you see across the board they are cutting major purchases, if you see even things like paper clips are being just eliminated from the purchase order, well, then you know things at your company are pretty severe, and I would definitely suggest that you look at that and probably even consider jumping and finding another position. That's always an option. But I look at how deep the cut is, and if it's that deep, yes, there's a serious problem. But if the cuts are minor cuts, just say I mentioned paperclip, if that's the smaller things are just being cut, and it's not the severe things, the things that really impact the growth and the profits of that business, to me anyway, I would be concerned. I would watch out for it, but I wouldn't be as worried if the cuts were smaller cuts, and I just saw that. Now, if those cuts accelerate, if they expand, well, yeah, then I would definitely be concerned and say, what about my job? Do I have to be concerned about it? You could go to management. You could ask them. You could go to HR. You could ask them. Your chances are, in my opinion, you're not going to get an honest answer from them. But watch for spending cuts. That's definitely one of those very subtle signs that they are going to be cutting workers and quite possibly cut out first the older worker. Department layoff. Now, when you're experiencing layoffs in departments in your company, when you see it, and hopefully it's not in your department, or at least it's not you, when you do see department layoffs, well, that's certainly a sign, a very I almost want to say it's not even a subtle sign. It is definitely a sign that there are some serious issues at that company. And maybe it could be that they are just trying to make that company leaner and meaner during a difficult economic time. Sometimes what it is, though, when you do see a department layoff, what happens is that company is not only looking to make themselves leaner and meaner, but they're looking to become more efficient. And I read this during my research for this article. It said business leaders report that while some supply chain issues have eased, new orders are slowing. Whenever possible, and this is this article I'm looking at here, it says employers are automating tasks rather than hiring. And certainly when you do see a department layoff, and if you pay particular attention to what happens when the layoff occurs, is the company looking to find some way to automate or maybe some way to offshore the job, or offshore the work? Watch for those, but almost like I say, they're almost not really subtle signs, but when you do see department layoffs, that's certainly an indicator that your company is looking at all the options, and let's hope that you are not one of those options when it comes to a department layoff. When consultants are at your company, when you start seeing consultants in every department, going through every department, almost like every drawer, they're going through everything. They want to know what's going on, who's doing what. Well, then that to me is a sign, and it probably is a subtle sign in that you don't know what they're there for, but it does cause the alarm bell to go off, and you start wondering, why are they here? What are they thinking? What are they doing? And that is a sign. To me, it's a subtle sign that things need to change, that the company's concerned about the operations, and they're looking for outside help, people to come in and help them to resolve whatever issue it is. And as much as it is a subtle sign that an older worker could be fired from their job, or they're about to lose their job, it also, on the other hand, it could be a positive. Maybe the company is actually trying to figure out what the issues are, what the problems are that they feel that they have, and they're trying to resolve those problems. So it's a different kind of a coin. You flip the coin, decide what side of the coin that you want to be on. But regardless of that, when you see consultants coming in, and especially when you don't know why they're there, when you haven't been told why they're there, well, to me, it is a sign. It's a sign that you should be careful. It's a sign that you should be wary of your job. It's certainly a sign that the company is addressing some need that they see needs to be addressed as soon as possible. So watch for a consultant coming in, flying around your company, asking all kinds of questions, especially if you don't know why they're there. Number 7 on our list of 7 subtle signs that older workers are about to lose their job is this: when management jumps ship. And right away, I pictured in my mind a bunch of rats just jumping over the side of the ship and plopping into the ocean and sailing, or I should say swimming away. When you do see management leaving one by one, or maybe 2 by 2, whatever that number is, yeah, it is definitely a concern that your job could be in jeopardy, that you may want to immediately look for another job. And it's pretty obvious that when you see something like this happen, I don't have to tell you that it is definitely a sign that you have to really be concerned about. Now, here's the thing, and I'm going to read this to you. This is something I thought was very appropriate. It's a quote here from Kaylin Birch. She's the lead U.S. analyst for the Economist Intelligence Unit. And I'm going to put a link to everything I quote in this video. I'll put links in the description box so you'll be able to check out everything. But she says this. Kaylin says, I think it's inevitable that we'll see a slowdown. She says the question is whether it's a slowdown that's manageable or if it turns into a collapse. Well, when management decides that they are going to jump ship, well, they are seeing a collapse, at least at that company. And if they see a collapse at that company, if that's what they foresee at the company, well, then it would be smart if you see that it's time for you to find a new position. Now, I even hesitate to say you should do it, but I think you can put 2 and 2 together yourself and figure out that, yeah, when they're leaving, it's probably time that I just boogie out of here. I got to get out of this place because I don't know where my future lies. And again, it's a question of whether we're going to see a slowdown that's manageable or a collapse in the economy or a collapse at that particular company. So I do think when you see management, it's pretty obvious. You got to make a decision. It's up to you to make that decision, but I wouldn't wait too long. Well, there you have it, my friends. 7 subtle signs that older workers are about to be fired from their job. And really, at the end of the day, as I see it, it's all about age discrimination. It's about ageism, companies not appreciating the older worker. We know, the statistic that I mentioned at the very beginning of this video where I said 56% of older workers are pushed out of their job. They're pushed out before they're ready to retire, and they're pushed out because of their age. And it's a sad statistic. Unfortunately, it's a true statistic. It's true because older workers are not appreciated by their employers, so of course they're pushed out of their job. But I thought this quote from a Susan Weinstock, that's a quote I read in the AARP website. Susan Weinstock, she's a vice president of financial resilience programming for AARP. And please don't ask me what that title means. I'm sure there's a lot of titles at the AARP bureaucracy that you and I could never guess what they mean. But the point here is this. Susan's quote, I think, again, it's right on point. She says, unfortunately, age discrimination seems to be the one form of bias that is still acceptable. And yes, we know this. She says this. She says, but employers who push out their experienced workers do so to their detriment. Research shows that these employees are loyal, productive, motivated, and possess of very soft skills like calm under pressure and ability to solve problems that employers say they need. And certainly in tough economic times, when companies are looking to pull back from hiring, when they're going to look to put a freeze on hiring, when they have issues that need to be addressed and they're finding that they have to hire expensive consultants, why not look inward and look at those experienced employees that you have, those people that can certainly help you to resolve your problems, to solve your issues, and help to make your company more productive. So why jettison them from the company? Well, again, that's all I got for you today, my friends. I do want to say 2 things. Don't forget, I do have that free cover letter that hiring managers can't resist. There's a link to the free cover letter in the description box. I also have a link to the free career aptitude test. That's courtesy of Career Fitter. You'll find that also in the description box as well. Well, again, that's all I got for you. I do want to say one more thing. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye.